Iraq, Afghanistan. If you've been there, you have a story. Mine starts at 03:30. For you that don't know military time or 24-hour clock, that's 3:30 a.m. I walk into my hooch, or what some of you may call an office. Mine's made of plywood. I see Brian sitting on the phone. He tells his wife he loves her. He'll see her soon. Jeff hands me a cup of coffee, because like I said, it's 3:30 in the morning, and I'm pretty unbearable at 3:30 in the morning without coffee. But we're there. We have our last mission. We have 4 days left in country. We're excited. This is our last mission. We get outside. We get our trucks started up, go run through our checks, make sure our weapons are loaded, everything, there's kind of a jovial sound. We're heading out, last time. 5:30 a.m. rolls around. We get our trucks in line. Mission brief is done. Radio checks are done. Weapons checked again, and we're rolling out the fence. Today's mission is up in Shawan, in the Farah region of Afghanistan. Every AO, or area of operation, has an IED alley, and Shawan was ours. In Shawan, it wasn't a matter of if you were going to get hit with an IED, indirect fire, small arms. It was when it was going to happen and how bad was it going to be. Was it going to be a small attack where they just shot at us a couple times and ran? We were used to that, no big deal. Or was it going to be worse? So what we were doing, the World Food Organization was bringing a convoy of food into Farah City because we were working on the PRT, the Provincial Reconstruction Team Farah, and part of our mission was to help the local populace rebuild their structure. So the food organization was bringing down a convoy of trucks through this IED alley. We wanted to stage a little bit closer because, like I said, it wasn't if, it was when. Something happened. We wanted to be closer because we were about an hour away from there. We wanted to be able to respond and be that quick reaction force. We got closer and closer to Shawan, and I was pretty comfortable in this AO. As I had said, we were 4 days from getting out of country. I noticed we were getting a little too close. So I radio up to the convoy commander, say, hey, we need to turn around. There's no defendable position up here, and we're going to start getting into a fight with somebody. We need to turn around. So as we were turning our vehicles around, one of the trucks gets stuck in the sand. Sand everywhere. We get trucks, big trucks, they get stuck. As we begin to recover this vehicle, we set up our defensive perimeter around the vehicle. They're recovering the vehicle. We start taking some small arms fire. We shoot back. They run away. Like I said, this happens all the time. We're used to it. The recovery starts taking longer. The incoming fire becomes heavier. We have Afghani National Army is with us. They go flying by us in trucks. They're going to go aggress these people that are trying to attack us while we're trying to get our vehicle unstuck. About 500 meters up the road, they disappear into a cloud of smoke and a large detonation. The only thing I can think of is that was us. That was going to be me. And they just took that. We started taking indirect fire. Mortars are impacting around us. The gunfire is constant now. Brian Berkey is in the turret. He's firing back, engaging the enemy. I'm watching out my window to cover my sector, and I hear Jeff, our other partner, on the radio, Brian, are you okay? Brian, are you hit? At this time, I turn and I look, and Brian is hunched over in his harness, and he's non-responsive. There's an emergency latch, and I pull on it as hard as I can, and I pull Brian down into my lap, and I said, Jeff, get a medic. It's then I notice that he has a small hole in the temple, and he's unconscious. We grab a medic in our truck, and we take off to the CASEVAC, that's the casualty evacuation. We get him out of the truck, and we lay him on the ground in the dirt. The chaos, the firefight around us, but it's completely silent where we were in our minds. The field surgeon came up, and they did some miraculous things that I hadn't even seen on movies. But unfortunately, it was too little. He did not make it, and on September 12th, 2009, In Shawan, Afghanistan, Staff Sergeant Brian Berkey gave his life. That wasn't the way the story was supposed to end. We were supposed to go to Baltimore. We were supposed to have beers, smoke our cigars, and go home to our families. Brian had bought these big cigars, and I was sure they was going to make me sick, but by golly, I was going to smoke that darn thing. Wasn't the way the story was supposed to end. My story kept going on. 4 days, our replacements were supposed to come. So they decided that it was okay if I took Brian's remains home. So I was honored to be able to fly in that C-17. I boarded up. We weren't the only ones to have casualties. The Army lost someone. So did the Marines. So in the back of that C-17 were 3 caskets with the flags tucked nicely around. I don't really recall a lot, but I knew that it was my job to make sure that those guys returned home with the dignity, honor, and respect that they deserved. So every time we landed in any base, I tucked those flags in. I made sure it was smooth so that when they opened that door, everything was perfect. I got back home to Dover, Delaware, which is my home station, which was where we were meeting the families of the fallen. And the back of the C-17 opened, and the first faces I saw was my EOD team. And they came up, and they paid their final respects to Brian, and then they turned and said, "Come on, let's go home." The next 72 hours, there wasn't a time when I came down from my bedroom, and there wasn't some dude sitting on my couch. "Hey, Jen, you all right? What's going on? You want to go smoke a cigarette?" I quit, by the way. So those guys helped me through that initial period. The guys on the C-17, if you've ever been on a C-17, they have all these chairs that fold down out of the side. And if you're lucky, you can fold them down and adjust your flotation device just right underneath your hip so that you can lay down on it and get a little bit of sleep. If you're lucky, you might fit across them. The load crew there, they saw me trying to lay down and get some sleep. And they said, "No, get upstairs, get in the bunk, get some sleep. You haven't slept in 48 hours. I'm like, "Oh, has it been that long?" So these people along the way have helped me get to where I am at home. I meet Brian's family in Gainesville, Florida. His wife, Erin, young, beautiful woman, way too young to be a widow. His baby, who was 9 months old, who was 3 months old when his dad left. His mother and his father, who couldn't be more proud. And I buried my brother that day. People ask me, "Why do you tell this story? Is it because I enjoy it?" Obviously not. It's the worst day of my life. Why do I tell it? Because if it helps one of you people that may be conflicted inside to go get the help you need, or if it helps one of our commanders make that decision when it comes across their desk, why do these EOD guys want high-altitude mountain warfare training? They may have just a little bit more of insight of what our guys are going through. If it helps a supervisor, military or civilian, to look at their people and say, something's not right, and say, "Hey, are you okay today? What's going on?" If I can tell my story and affect one person in any way, then I feel better for helping someone with this hard story. People ask me, "Why do you do this? How do you do this? Why do you go down and disarm bombs? That's crazy." As I was in Iraq in 2005, they were ratifying the Constitution. People were lined up to vote. Most amazing thing I've ever seen. In the US, we vote. We know it's one of our rights, but if it's raining or it's inconvenient or anything like that, these people are standing in line, getting shot at and blown up to vote to ratify their Constitution. And in the middle of these polling stations was an IED. And it was my job to go in there and disarm it, and we did. But at the end of it, there was Iraqis lining the buildings chanting, USA, USA. That's why I do it. I do it for Harrison Berkey, who never knew his dad. I do it for every single person in here. We have military, we have civilian. Doesn't matter. We're all together because you know what? When I go down there, you guys are going with me in my minds. That's why I do it. Now, how do I keep going on? I go on. I came home. I didn't know how I was going to go on, but I knew I had to. I got help from our mental health personnel, great mental health personnel, who helped me realize that it was okay to be feeling the way I was feeling. As soon as she said, oh, you're normal. That's normal. You went through an abnormal situation and you're reacting very normal. I was like, okay, I'm normal. I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm sad, I cry, I don't sleep, but that's normal. So I'm going to keep going on. I met a man who I married almost a year ago, who held me in the night when I screamed out from the nightmares that came and that still come. I have joined a motorcycle group. One of the things you get to know real well is when you're in a truck with these guys for hours and hours and hours, you start talking, and we talked in detail, Brian and I, about the motorcycles we were going to buy when we got home. So when I got home, by golly, I went and bought me a 2009 R6 race bike. That thing is fast. But I joined this motorcycle group, and it's the Explosive Ordnance Disposal Motor Group, and we raise money for the Wounded EOD Warrior Foundation, so that I can give back to those of my brothers who have given so much. I had the opportunity last fall, to deploy to Ramstein, Germany. I know it's a rough deployment. But my job there was the Deployment Transition Center, helping our airmen coming home from combat to transition from that combat mindset into a mindset coming home. And you could see the relaxation on their face when they left, and that's why I do what I do. But to keep going is the main thing. To keep taking care of your people, no matter what happens. The worst things can happen in your life, but you know what? They're the worst things. It only gets better from there. So you keep going. You know your people. You look them in the eye, and you say, how are you doing? What would this world be if every time you passed by someone that was down, you said, how are you? What can I do to help you? Can I help you today? Are you okay? What kind of world will we be in? What better place will we be in if people just help people? It's really that simple. Thank you.